every single day.
People want to connect with someone who...
Self-expression is life.
It is the challenge. It's a challenge of life.
You can't get mad at other people for not seeing your vision.
It was all about a grind. Like I said, I was selling CDs, DVDs, and clothes out the trunk of my
Whatever
car.
it takes.
This is for the people. Don't forget that. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, the Hustle Chronicles podcast. I am here with Rob Palmer, president, founder, the Lawn Squad. If you don't mind just starting with saying who you are, where you're from, and how you got into the lawn care business.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I come to Authority Brands having been an entrepreneur, starting a business 23 years ago. A unique story at that time, I was working for Lesco, a national supplier serving the lawn and landscape world. Absolutely loved my job there. Was approached by a friend who was thinking about buying a franchise. Wow. Albeit one of the competitors. It was actually a Weedman franchise at the time. Wow. And he had me evaluate the FDD, look through it, and I remember reaching out to him and said, I think it's a pretty good platform, but it seems like it might be something, you know, if you can either get into them or you look to me, and I've got a background in it, let me see what I can do. And my wife, who at the time was a fifth grade school teacher, we always had a dream to have her stay home with our kids. So in a matter of 1 year, I went from making, two salaries to basically one partial salary. Started it in 2001 and never really looked back. So I really had some motivation from the get-go that I needed to make money and I needed it to be successful. So, I took the advice of a lot of other entrepreneurs and business guys that I knew, put my head down and just ran. And
just grinded.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what it was. You know, I'm fortunate to have got a lot of friends throughout the industry. And I think, the 23-year path was forged with us taking over 120 site visits to other lawn care companies, other landscape companies, trying to find out what they were doing and what made them successful. And frankly, see if we could plagiarize it, if we could clone it, if we could turn it into something actionable in Cleveland and Columbus, Ohio, which is where we're from. And that really has been kind of the legacy of Weed Pro, is really learning from others, implementing that, putting our spin on it, but making it something that I think would work. And ironically, when Authority Brands and Craig and Elliot and those folks, they're called upon us and were asking questions of us, it really kind of came to fruition. I'm thinking, well, if we can clone what we do and we could brand this thing throughout the country, and we can really see growth beyond what we were able to do in our marketplace in Cleveland and Columbus. So really, we're just applying a lot of the same principles, right? Mm-hmm. Figure out what the best practices are, build a system out of it, and then watch it grow. Put some money behind the marketing and watch it grow.
I love it. One of the things that you said that sticks out to me is just plagiarism. Yeah. Just like all great entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Were you good at school?
No, not really. I mean,
like all great.
I was a classic C student, right? Yeah. I was a guy that got my homework done probably 6 hours before the assignment was due. I would sometimes go back to college, after spending the weekend at home. I'd get back to my dorm about 10:30 at night, and I'd have to crack the computer open and try to finish the project by 2 a.m. so that I'd be ready for class by 8. So no, I mean, and it's, ironically, as a father, I've had to fake it a little bit. Like, come on, let's work on these grades, get the homework done. You got to grind this thing out. Think ahead. Get your work done 2-3 days before it's due. And yet, I was the guy that was getting it done at the very last minute. So there's a kind of an irony there as you become a father. You look back at your own habits and you realize, wow, maybe I should have done it different. But I do think it's kind of the energy around me that's kind of made us successful. Hey, we got to get it done. There's a deadline there, and we're not going to miss it.
Yeah, my wife keeps telling me, please, Zach, stop telling our daughter that she doesn't have to go to college. She's only 3 years old. Yeah. Let her decide by herself. When I did my research and I look at who you are as a person, everything is about your people. Everything is about leadership. Obviously, you didn't just learn this overnight, right? It's 20 plus years of experience. You've been doing this longer than Roger's been alive. So what made you decide that you were going to focus on your people instead of just making it look like Rob Palmer's successful because of you?
Because if you want exponential results, I can only provide so much. You really got to this whole concept with franchising that I've learned, it's about cloning, right? And I in essence, tried to clone myself in the different aspects of the company, whether it's operations, production, marketing, sales, etc. Is that you try to encourage people to be the best of themselves based off kind of how you've come to learn these things. So I guess what I'm saying here is I may not have been the best salesman, but I knew folks that were. Yep. And so ultimately I wanted to coach them up because I couldn't wear the sales hat, the marketing hat, the production hat. I couldn't be also meeting with accountants and lawyers and trying to figure out, some of the best practices. So really it just comes down to coaching. And I think, I've had a background as a high school basketball coach for 26 years. And it's the same concept. I'm not dribbling the basketball. I'm not taking the shots. You have to coach them. You got to build them up. You got to develop them. And that's really what business is all about. We're all doing the same marketing. We're all spending money with Google. We're all sending direct mail. That's really not the key component. The key component is how well do you do those things, right? And so coaching people up, asking them to evaluate their performance, to make adjustments, to change their approach, to have a different strategy along the way. That's really where you find success, is in the margins in business. And it's not, what is that saying? It's 90% what happens to you and 10% what you do with it. Yeah. And that's really kind of what coaching is all about, is really kind of helping people become better.
Yeah. And obviously from being a basketball coach, I'm sure you've applied a lot of that into your business. Being a coach, not necessarily there's a monetary reward, but there's a pride aspect, right? You're taking kids, you said in high school, maybe youth basketball programs, and you're really developing them to be what they're going to be in the future. And I'm sure a lot of these, your basketball players would probably say that you've defined who they've become. So why be a coach? You said you've ran a company, you're a husband, you're a father. Why spend more time giving back?
Well, first I will say that I would coach every one of my kids throughout their years, which is a unique challenge when you're a father and a coach. And my kids would tell you it may not have been, it definitely wasn't in their favor. I wasn't one of those coaches where, my kid got playing time regardless. No, they had to earn it. And but really the lessons you learn from kids as well, and how they learn, whether it's visual or audio, whether it's through demonstration and hands-on, those are the same lessons that we apply in business, because there's not one size fits all when it comes to coaching or teaching. People have different capacities. And really, there's times when I've had a player in 7th grade who I thought was the 14th best of the 15 players. And by his senior year, he's player of the year in the county. Why? Because he had the right mindset. He had he just had to develop the skills. Yep. And over, in basketball, you got from 7th grade to your senior year, you've got 5, 6, 7 years of development. And the same thing goes in businesses. We may not have a guy that's that A player in year one, but if he's got the right mindset and if he's engaged in the process and he wants to learn, you got to give him the tools. You got to show him the skills. You got to invest in him so that he can, give you that return on investment. And I think that's what's been probably the most rewarding in business, is not been the dollars and cents. It's been watching these people reach their potential. And, I bring in over several people from existing Weed Pro into Lawn Squad corporate, and I'm now watching them acquire these new skills again when it comes to franchising. And it's as impressive and as overwhelming to me in my heart as you can imagine. Guys, one guy in particular, right? He's been a service manager. He's been dealing with customers, been dealing with technicians. Well, now he's coming over to Lawn Squad as our director of training, and the work he's done preparing the training programs, I realized we were underutilizing him, which was a failure of me in the previous business. And I'm going to continue to apply those lessons, is find the best in people, invest in them, and watch how they give you that return on investment.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I feel like, I've had this similar approach primarily because when I first started this, I didn't have any money to go out and acquire the best, the LeBron James of junk removal or operations, right? So I started off with guys in the trucks, and then I saw more potential. Very similar to you, one of our best drivers, trainers, now is our director of training for for Junk Luggers New York City. He's here at the convention with us, Daryl. You know, I could tell stories like that all day long, and they were never the superstar, right? Because the superstar thinks they have it all figured out, always. So yeah, it sounds like you've learned a lot about that. Now, you know, just how large of an organization are you before you start getting into franchise? How many people are working for you?
So we got about 75 people that basically work, you know, at least 9 months of the year, and then about 54 of them work year round. So some of our technicians will take a layoff in the off season. And, you know, it's funny, you know, we're up in Cleveland, Ohio, right? In Columbus, Ohio, where we have, you know, we can get a fair amount of snow in the off season, right? Yep. And one of the questions I'm always asked, what do you guys do in the off season? And, you know, and I always say, well, first of all, we're just smart about what we do. You may have 12 months in your market. We just get 12 months worth of work done in 9 months. Yep. Okay. And then we'll use the off season for obviously selling, rebuilding, taking care of equipment, really growing our people, attending conferences, attending shows, doing lunch and learns. We really make it a 12-month business. And I guess, you know, ultimately, when I looked at this opportunity with franchising, that's one of the things that made me excited was to think that now we're going to be in the Southeast, right? We're going to be on the West Coast. We're going to be throughout. We're going to have regions of the country that is going to allow even more best practices and more sharing and learn what you do right versus what they do right. And looking at some of the technologies that are available to these franchising organizations, some of the dashboards that you can build, I think that's what's going to really kind of change the game a little bit for us in this lawn care space in franchising is let's leverage all this information from region to region and from peer to peer so that we can kind of create the most efficient lawn care franchise, you know, out there.
The power by numbers, right?
Yep, exactly.
I know Elliot said, Zach, when you talked to Rob, make sure you focus on KPIs, your leadership board. What does yours look like? Why did he feel like you have such a differentiating quality about your leadership board?
Well, they did a visit with us, and I remember we spent, you know, we're in a really just an area in the shop where there are some boards up. Really not a good-looking area of the shop per se, except the boards that are on the wall. And I often joke that, you know, it's 2023, and yet you're still using grease boards and whiteboards in certain areas. Of course, we have TVs that have the digital stats running across them. But we still use that whiteboard because it's easy to access. And for us, you come to that whiteboard and there's a green pen and there's a red pen. And this isn't the Matrix, right? But it's still a green pen and a red pen here, not a blue pen. And those guys have that moment where they've got service rates. They understand how much work they were supposed to get done on a given day. And they've got to go to that board. And first thing they do is they either grab that green pen if their service rate was, you know, good, or the red pen if they missed their service rate for that day. So it gives them a chance to kind of self-evaluate themselves at that point. Right next to that board are a series of the KPIs that we've built over the years and modified. But these KPIs really were designed to inform you, the technician, you, the worker, you, the employed, to know, how am I doing? You know, how am I doing every single day and how is this updated? And we've defined those KPIs so that they aligned with our company mission, right? We always wanted to be large enough to serve, but small enough to care. And so those KPIs are specifically designed so that technician never has to wonder, how am I doing? His numbers are on the board every single day. He helped define some of the goals within those KPIs. We define the KPIs, but then he kind of defines some of the goals within there. And so they're on the board every day, and they're fairly simple KPIs. Quality scores, what are customers saying about us? What's their service call rate? What's their retention rate? Next to that is their sales. And finally is their service rate. You know, were they within the efficiency level that they needed to be? And I think they would tell you, because at almost every single company meeting I've had in 23 years, the two things that employees always demand of us is we need better communication and we need to know how we're doing. Because they can course correct themselves. Just like when you're a basketball coach, right? I tell them, guys, you know, we need to execute. We need to follow the play to try to get to the most efficient shot possible. Well, it's the same thing with the technicians. They want to know how they're performing, you know, what skills that they can kind of self-correct. And so by giving them those KPIs on a daily basis, and guys, they're numbers in the system that we're tracking. It's just a matter of taking them out of the system and putting them in a presentable fashion. We owe that to them. Yeah. And so I could say that's over the years, it's the thing that they tell me they appreciate the most is they're never unclear as to how they're doing or why the one-on-one meetings with their managers go a certain way, because they already know what the manager's going to say because they're looking at their own KPIs.
Gamification, right?
Yeah.
So powerful. Doesn't cost anything. Yet they're telling you they appreciate it so much just because they know, am I doing well?
Yep.
Am I going to get to the next level or not? You know, one thing that really sticks out to me in the similarities between Junk Luggers and Lawn Squad is just there's a lot of people doing what we do, right?
Yep.
All the time people say to me, like, what makes you different than 1-800-GOT-JUNK or College Hunks? And it's pretty clear after a quick conversation with me that there is a huge difference. When someone asks you that, what do you tell them? Like, what's the difference between you versus your competition?
It really comes down to one word. We try to personalize our service. We learned at a very early stage in business that we really couldn't customize lawn care. You know, it's not about showing up and we've got our lab coats on and we've got, all the tools to customize the application. But what we could do is we could personalize the application. The technician can take pride in knocking on a door, talking to a customer, leaving real actionable notes, not, canned presentations that come out of the software. So we've really tried to personalize the service. We've had throughout the years, our guys have been called the talking techs. They've been called, let's provide the tech experience. The whole large enough to serve but small enough to care mentality is kind of built into Lawn Squad. I mean, our guys talk to customers a lot, and that's one of the areas that can impact some of their efficiency. But that's an area where we'll course correct and look at what is their retention rates, and their retention rates are so high because they've built a relationship with the customer, and it's amazing. Every survey I've taken over the last 15 years, it's something that's always amazing to me. If the customer is telling us they did not like our service and do not mention the tech's name, they're giving us low ratings.
Yep.
But if they mention a tech's name in a survey,
100%.
they're always going to be a positive rating. Even if the application, something was wrong with the lawn, they may say, hey, the lawn didn't do too well this year, but I don't think it was Zach's fault. It looks like, it must have been the weather. We must have been mowing it wrong. It must have been right.
Yeah.
So if we can just connect that touch point by creating a relationship and personalizing the service, it takes your lifetime value of a customer from maybe $5,000 to $10,000 over the course of the lifespan of a customer, because you're doing what we like to do. We're talking, we're shaking hands, we're talking about the lawn, and it's an easy game. And you can scale that too, right? You can scale love and personalization by taking out the whole kind of corporate thought. We're not just a corporation. We're a living entity. Yep. Without people, we're not going to be successful. And what we like to do is we like to, like I said, knock on the door and have a conversation with a customer.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. We use Listen 360 as our net promoter score, and every time it's like they say Zach and Roger or Zach and Rob, it's like, think about that.
Yep.
Think about how many interactions you have in one day, and you might not even you might call me Jack.
Yeah.
But like the fact that you tried enough to like build a rapport with that person is just, it's incredible. And, a lot of times when, 33% of our customers in New York City, they're repeat referrals, and they'll ask for that person to come back.
Really?
It's like, holy shit. Can you imagine that? Like they care that
you don't
much.
hire a friend, right?
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to, is like you build that relationship, and it's, if they don't know your name and you make a mistake, they're going to go on to the next guy.
It's just about money.
Exactly. So, at the end of the day, it's what I like to do. I like to, every single day I walk around the office and I'll spend 15 minutes with different folks all the time, because they understand that I want to know about them. I want them to know about me, because I want them to take care of the customer on the phone or in person, the same way interaction we're having in the office every day.
100%. For someone who's a lawn enthusiast, I take it very seriously. In the last couple of years, I've had to get all these surgeries, and it's put me on the injured reserve for my lawn care. So I ended up having to hire someone. But I take pride in when people come over and we have a barbecue and they're like touching the carpet, as I call them, or like one of my neighbors will come over and say to me, like, you have the nicest lawn in the neighborhood. So I know how much goes into that process. And you see all the time the lawn care companies that don't give a shit.
Right.
They just cut the lawn and they get out of there, right? So I saw that you have your own unique formula that you call Vitamin Lawn.
Vitamin Lawn, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's really the key. You have to look at the lawn holistically. There's soil.
Yep.
There's the thatch.
Yeah.
There's the green turf tissue. So you really got to work on all three layers. And so I tried to, years ago, I was trying to put it into how do you convey this to a consumer without trying to get too techie, right? And hey, we're applying this amount of micronutrients and macronutrients, et cetera, and we're going to lose the conversation. And I'm at home, my wife's taking some vitamins, and I'm thinking, why are you taking the vitamins?
Yeah.
And so that's what it can be. The vitamins obviously are going to nourish the soils, which are going to nourish the green tissue. And so we adjusted on the fly, and we changed up some of the components we used that incorporate some of these micros and macronutrients and some organics at times. And so we termed it Vitamin Lawn. And for us, you think in our space, one of the biggest names in the industry, Scott's Lawn Service, right? And Scott's, but people often just refer to the 4-step program.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I need to brand the actual program. So that's what I did. Instead of calling it lawn care, we just call it Vitamin Lawn. So we're Weed Pro that offers the Vitamin Lawn program. And so we just tried to learn from, those that have made billions of dollars in this space. And we, just like Scott says, the 4-step, we have the Vitamin Lawn program.
And my friends and I, who are also equally as obsessed with their lawn, we have a grass text. And in the grass text, they'll send the picture right after the lawn looks perfect, or after we reseed or aerate. And, the difference between us and other people is like, we care that people are spending that extra attention. So would you say that you're looking for customers that want their lawn to look above and beyond, or are you looking for quality or quantity, or is it a mix of both?
Yeah, it's a mix, but ultimately people are looking for a hassle-free way to make sure that their lawn is healthy, first and foremost, and beautiful, right? They want it green and weed-free. It's pretty simple. We've surveyed our customer base over the years, trying to figure out what is that exactly to nail it. And ultimately, what those surveys always say is, listen, we want it green and weed free, but we don't want the hassle.
Yep.
We don't want to have to call you because you didn't show up, call you because weeds are coming in the lawn. We want to just know that, okay, I got a guy and he's taking care of it. And so that goes back to that personalization. And those are the systems that we've built in to try to enhance the customer journey. So there are regular touch points along the way, so that they understand, it's being taken care of. It may not have been during this application because seasonally it's not time for that, but we're back out 35 days later on the calendar and we're going to get it taken care of at that point. So really it's just reassuring them along that customer journey that each and every point of the season, we're going to take care of what's necessary for now and over the next 5 to 6 weeks.
I love it. You said that stands out to me is about how you've went all across the country and checked out what made specific lawn care companies successful.
Yep.
When I first started the business, I remember I was so excited and I went around and they're like, hey, how's it going? It's Zach Cohen. I just wanted to introduce myself. And so many of them just slammed that door in my face. And then you realize 15 years later, our company is not only more successful, but we're a larger organization than
they're coming to you now.
And the people that didn't slam the door in my face, they weren't afraid of competition, right? Because what I heard when you say that is, friendly competition actually makes both companies more successful.
Yeah, it really does.
So when you went all around the country, how did you approach them where they didn't think of you as?
Yeah. I would say, first of all, probably what really facilitated that was within the lawn and landscape industry, we've got state and national associations like the National Association of Landscape Professionals. And in the state of Ohio, we have the Ohio Turfgrass Foundation, Ohio Lawn Care Association. And then really we've been using a software program, Real Green, which is owned by WorkWave. And they have conferences, some regional and some national conferences. And really we forged a lot of relationships by attending in those conferences throughout the years. And during those conferences, that's when a lot of this networking really began. I know in 2008, I met a guy out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and got to know him real well. He's since built one of the best lawn care and pest control companies in the entire country. Wow. And he and I decided, let's build on this. And we invited a few other friends, and we had our first inaugural meeting in 2008 at his office in Philadelphia. And over the years since 2023, we've got 10 companies that are in that organization right now. We meet on a regular basis, several times a year, as well as online, and we'll just share best practices. And we're respectful of the competitive nature of the industry. Yes. We vie not to compete or to communicate it if that is ever an issue. But that networking, that you have to be humble, because you're going to present your flaws to them, and they're going to present their flaws to you. But you're going to learn from it, right? Yeah. And those people are some of the best friends I have in this industry now. If I need anything, they're happy to help. They're happy to send staff to me if I needed them for a couple days to figure out an issue. Or now we're looking at, we want to integrate our software with a Microsoft business analytics program, and they've already done it. They're going to share their best practices, and we're going to share what's worked for us. So it's like the whole beautiful thing about Lawn Squad is that we're bringing this squad approach. We've got the marketing folks, we've got the IT folks, we've got the recruiting and the HR folks. We know how we've got the whole agronomic team. We know the application techniques, and we're bringing all these members of the squad to these new franchises as we bring them on. But it's because I had a squad behind me the whole time. Yeah. Friends from around the industry who helped and taught me. And now I'm not just bringing my 23 years. I'm bringing the 23 years of folks that have helped me get to this spot. And that's why I'm really excited about this opportunity, is if we can help work with somebody who has a dream, that wants to work hard, that loves being outside, that wants to make a good living, really a great living for his family, and eventually possibly make some legacy money for themselves, this is the space to be. I mean, listen, I want to get in. I am so honored to be with you guys, with Junk Luggers at Wisconsin, and learn from you and Josh and team. But I'm really excited about the opportunity to work with these franchises in the future and help them achieve what we've achieved.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really incredible to see how open you are to change after doing this for 23 years. Yeah. You were acquired by Authority Brands, you said March 31st. Yep. Which is a huge accomplishment. Congratulations. I went through that in this year. Yeah. My team was obviously scared, right? The idea of private equity scares the shit out of people. Yeah. But over the last year, I've explained to them, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to make sure that you are in a better position than you were beforehand, and I'm going to help everyone grow, right? So part of the acquisition was the incubator. Yeah. Do you mind just explaining? Because I think that's a really amazing opportunity, and the fact that you're so open to it after all these years of constantly pivoting and making, fine-tuning your business, I feel like is such an opportunity that most people would be too afraid to make a change after all this time. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting, fat and happy, you're just not growing. Yeah. And I want to continue to grow as a person. And what I found is we were scaling pretty good, and we had a pretty good footprint in Cleveland and Columbus, Ohio, right? And throughout the entire state of Ohio, we're one of the bigger lawn care companies. But to go next level and to really make that investment is going to take probably more than I could probably handle. Of course. And so really, I wasn't looking to sell. I was looking for a partner. Yeah. And ultimately, that's what Authority Brands was to me. They were like, we want to take this model. We want to take this energy that you've built, and we want to build and put this in different parts of the country. Yeah. And their approach with me from day one has been more of a partnership. Yep. And that was what I appreciate most, because it's almost been how I've viewed myself within my company, as I felt like I'm partners with my director of sales. Yep. I'm partners with my director of marketing. I'm partners with our human resource director and our controller. And so this synergy between me and Authority Brands was so authentic to me. It just felt like the perfect marriage. And it hasn't disappointed me at all. The 6 months now we've been doing this, going from not being a franchise. We're the first organization that Authority Brands had purchased that wasn't a franchise prior to it. Going through the FDD process, building operations manuals, building playbooks and guides, I visited Junk Luggers, I visited Mosquito Squad, I visited ASP.
We visited duty calls. We hit the floor running, and we just started visiting all the different brands, trying to figure out what do they do, what's their secret sauce. We went to look at your call center. What are they doing? What software are they using? How are they scaling this? What's been working? What's not been working? We're trying to apply those lessons into what we did. So it's really exciting. It's like I'm learning something new, and yet I'm applying it to the same platform and improving that platform at the same time. So it's really just been an exciting 6 months, and I'm really looking forward to the next, 6 months.
Yeah, and like living it, right? Having that experience, like on the surface, people think, oh, we're successful, right? But we've made so many mistakes, and sometimes the bigger mistakes are the biggest learning lessons, and that's how we make the changes and learn how to grow. So I think it's so incredible as an outsider to look in and see how this potential to take it from 0 franchises to, the potential is unlimited because you're looking at it as a partnership and you're not looking at it as an acquisition. So
that's right. And it's funny, one of the things that I'm now moving into is we're talking to a lot of potential franchisees, right? And one of the conversations I had just yesterday was, and that's kind of where the description went. They're like, well, is it like I'm working for you? I said, no, it's like you're partnering with us. I said, our team is here, and we're fully motivated, and we're aligned on the same mission. We want to build a company that you're going to be proud of, your community's going to love, that has the ability to make you a living. And so we're your biggest partner. I looked right at him. I said, do you know who your franchise business consultant is? It's me.
Love it.
I am your franchise business consultant. I can tell you, I've wasted more money marketing. I've wasted more money trying to customize a vehicle than I'd care to share. But those were the way we learned how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, funny story I've told a few folks. Back in 2008, I spent $75,000 on a direct mail campaign that I thought was going to change the world. And we literally put an oversized clear window envelope that had a picture of their house. There was a proposal. Yeah. And on the front of the letter that went in there was a picture of their house with the size and the price to treat their lawn. And I thought, this is going to rock. People are going to be so impressed. They don't even have to call and ask us for an estimate. We're delivering the estimate with a picture of their house right on the envelope. And I got 6 customers from it because, and the response was, that was creepy. Yeah. We were ahead of our time. Now that I think that program's going to work just fine because
geo-targeting is so normal.
But in 2008, people weren't ready for that.
No.
So, we learned, people say, well, you regret that $75,000? Well, sure, but it sure did teach us a lot. And we still used a lot of those, the online measuring tools from that point on. We just didn't present it in a direct mail format. So a lot of lessons to be learned. And again, those are the same type of things. Our pain equals our franchisees' gain.
Yep.
And so that's one of the things we're talking to them about is, listen, we've been there, we've done that. I was spending my own money. So believe me, I'm going to treat your money like it was mine because I remember those feelings when it wasn't well spent.
Right. Big bus. Yeah.
Yep.
One thing that's really cool is when you're acquired, they're going to rebrand you.
Yep.
How does that feel?
Feels amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here today with my
I like
Lawn Squad shirt that I just got shipped in the mail.
Love it.
It's great. We're, all our vehicles will be rebranded this December. Going through a process right now of getting all that prepped and ready. But yeah, I mean, Weed Pro, I've said for years, it's not who I am, it's what I do. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, I work for the business, and whether it was my business or Authority Brands business, I work for that business because I'm working for the people in that business and the customers that support it. So it doesn't matter who that is, doesn't matter what the name is. We're all in, and I think it's a great name. I mean, Lawn Squad, we came up with a couple different variations. And this little shield that's on this, and when you take a look at it, I want you to look closely because there's a hidden check mark within that grass blade, and that shield, what it represents being, an authority, right? It's a certification, it's a badge of honor, and the little check mark in there again refers to kind of the certification that's required to do this, and the little health plus symbol in the orange is kind of reminds me of a symbol for vitamins and health, and so I really, really enjoy that logo, and I think over the years to come, we're really going to play off the different elements in that thing with different marketing, and I think it's going to be a great brand as we get this thing built out.
You're looking for franchisees right now. What would I know you've went over a lot of topics quickly, but what would you say an ideal franchisee looks like?
I mean, I think there are two really strong variations that I've seen. One is the guy that it wants to buy the franchise and wants to work in the field every day to grow that thing.
Yeah.
And so we've designed it so that we're going to be handling the marketing and the call center. Take that burden of taking those phone calls off of them.
Which is a huge burden.
It really is. And to take all the years of experience that we've already built up within that customer service department and that sales department, we know how to handle these calls. We've taken, over 60,000 phone calls in the last 10 years. That gives you a lot of experience. It gives you almost what that question is based off what time of year it is.
Yeah.
And so those folks are handling those things and making sure they're putting the franchisee in the best spot to retain and make sure that customer is happy. And the same thing with the sales side is, you don't want to miss calls, right? The number one thing is you got to answer that phone call. You got to be there with answers.
Gone.
That's right.
Good luck getting that person back.
That's right. And so if we can control part of this equation, then I think that's when we can really start to provide those exponential results that we have seen and transfer that right to the franchisee. So really, you've got that component where you've got the guy who's in his truck or the girl who's in her truck every day, out performing applications, knocking on doors, personalizing that experience, coming back to the office, doing some of the back office functions, knowing that the customer service and sales are happening while they're in the field, while they're at home, or while they're doing interviews to hire a technician in the future. Our sales department's making sales for them. While they're processing something into the system from a stop that they made, customer service is handling phone calls and sending those notes to you, so that it's in their system at the same time they're entering, where the customer service department is entering that in. The other option I see is kind of like with an investment vehicle, where you've got the owner of this thing who's going to hire maybe a manager, and that manager then hires a tech. Meanwhile, that manager's out really focusing on ground game marketing, right? While his tech is out doing the applications, the manager is out knocking on doors, meeting with landscapers to be a subcontractor for work, meeting with cities and schools, see if they're open to having their football fields or soccer fields contracted out. Yeah. Going to business network meetings, chamber of commerce meetings, trying to grow the business through word of mouth and through handshaking, while the technician's out in the field performing the applications, and the call center is handling all the inbound leads coming in through Google, through social media, through direct mail or every door direct mail, or individual campaigns that are going out there. Through the call tracking programs, we can identify what's working in marketing and reinvest more in those areas to try to provide these results in real time, while the owner's out doing what he does best, satisfying customers, making lawns greener, developing members of his team to be better applicators, to be better communicators. So that's ultimately what makes me the most excited about this entire venture, is that I think we've closed the circle. Yep. We've created a full 360 production, operations, and sales program that we can present to each franchise as they're onboarded.
Taking a step back, right? We see each other again next convention. What would you define as a successful year? What would you say, Rob, if you were going to be excited, what to accomplish? What does the future bring for Lawn Squad?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I want to get through this entire cycle and hear back from franchises that we've successfully onboarded. Yep. And really have time to really go back and talk to those that chose not to go with us and find out why not.
I love that.
And so I can figure out, where are those adjustments? I mean, the advantage, we're an emerging brand, right? And so there's with an emerging brand, you may not have all the bells and whistles on day one. Yep. We're trying to figure some of those things out. Yep. But what you are getting is, you're going to get direct contact with myself, with Justin Dombeck, who's our call center director of call center, as well as Ryan, who is our director of training, and Paul, our director of onboarding. So you're going to have direct contact with folks that were doing this at a high level. Yep. Not guys that we've hired and taught how to do it, but guys that have actually been doing it for the last 23 years. And so what you may not get is with some of the bells and whistles in the first year or two. And don't get me wrong, I've got high hopes. Give me 6 to 18 months to get some of these bells and whistles going that we've already been working on. But in the meantime, I'll be the franchise business consultant for the first 20 franchises. And to me, I think that, that bringing 23 years of experience right into your office or into your kitchen or into your garage or into your warehouse, I think, I hope means something.
I mean, I believe you.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm a pretty good indicator of bullshit. So
Yeah.
It's amazing. I think all I see is success, and I can feel the passion coming out of you. And it's pretty incredible to see someone that this passionate 20 plus years after. If you could have a billboard anywhere in the world, what would it say and why?
A billboard anywhere.
Obviously paid for by the Hustle Chronicles podcast.
Let's see. I think a couple different things come to mind, things that I would tell my kids, things that I would tell my employees, things that I would tell my players. But ultimately, when everything boils down, when you've been sick recently, right? And when you have those moments, you always wonder, like, was I genuine? Was I authentic? And that's what I basically try to tell folks is be as genuine and as authentic as you can be, because people can see through the BS. And at the end of the day, you want to be accountable for your actions. So I just think being as authentic, as transparent as possible all the time. So the billboard would probably just say, be transparent, be authentic, and roll the dice and see what it gets you. But you're not going to be disappointed with the results because it's you.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. If people want to reach out to you, if people are interested in a franchise, how do they do that?
Go to the Lawn Squad website. Mike Perez is our franchise development manager, and he's not only is it probably the funniest guy that I've met in the last 6 months, but he's got a ton of experience having done this for a long time. So what I may lack in the first couple months of this, he understands this FDD process, this onboarding process, and I'd reach out to Mike. I'd go to lawnsquad.com immediately, and let's get you signed up as fast as we possibly can.
Let's go. You have any questions for me?
If I handed you the pixie dust right now and you could sprinkle it over one thing that you wish you would have done different, and that I can learn from that and apply for that, what would you be sprinkling that pixie dust on?
Yeah, I mean, laying the foundation, right? Systems and processes. Like in the beginning, I feel like I totally get what you're saying. I'll talk to any franchise, whether there's anything economically in it for me or not. I just wanted to have someone be successful and create that generational wealth. Now looking back at it, it's like hold someone accountable.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's ultimately what someone wants.
Okay.
That authenticity that you're talking about. Yeah. Right? Like everyone wants another friend, but people, what they really need is someone to hold them accountable, see through their bullshit, see through, they might tell you one thing, but you and I both know the only way to be successful is consistency.
Yeah.
Networking, shaking hands, like things that people don't like to do.
Right.
We don't, as a franchise owner, we don't need you sitting behind a desk.
Yep.
Like you're telling them you're going to do that for them so they can get out and they can grow their relationships in their community. And a lot of times, I've seen such a huge array of successful and not successful franchises. And the difference is really the people who are willing to make mistakes and, make a fool out of themselves. Yep. Like some of like the craziest stories are like me, standing out in the middle of a highway in, crazy outfits trying to get people's attention. Yep. So, truthfully, like, I think you're going to be successful. I think you're going to have very happy franchisees. And I'm very excited for you to join the Authority Brands network because, learn from the experience and, make mistakes, but make less mistakes that cost less money.
Right.
So
I appreciate you having me today. I appreciate being here.
It's awesome. And that wraps up the Hustles Chronicles podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, follow us, YouTube, Spotify. I'm sure there's more, but I'm getting too old to remember them all. So follow us, and thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for coming up.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, brother.